If the challenges we face today, hunger, climate change, the breakdown of our communities, to name just a few, have left you dispirited, feeling as if there is little we can do to effect meaningful change, then listen in as we introduce today the Food Recovery Project. This Arlington-based food relief organization has, for the past 2 years, quietly yet effectively grappled with such towering issues. With me to discuss the work of the project are co-founders and co-directors Deanne DuPont and Julie Kremer. Welcome to you both, and thanks for joining me.
Well, thank you.
We're now into your third year, the third year of the Food Recovery Project. Over that time, you estimate that you have rerouted approximately $1 million worth of food from what would have been the waste bin to people who were hungry. A significant accomplishment, but particularly as you weren't expecting to start a food recovery project. Tell us about the sort of the unexpected turn that helped you found the project.
Well, what happened was we were getting some end-of-day pastries and such from one of the new Paneras, and when Julie went to pick it up, she found out that they were throwing away their bread most evenings because they were new, they hadn't made the contacts with nonprofit organizations. And then Julie came back and said, Deanne, we need to do something about this. And then Julie's a real go-getter, so she called Panera and found out how many nights we could pick up, and then called other Paneras to see when they were throwing away their bread because they didn't have an organization to pick up. And then it went from there.
And from there to progressively more and more businesses around Arlington and organizations to which you would donate that food. Two of the sponsors for the project, Sustainable Arlington, Massachusetts Climate Action Network. Not exactly the usual suspects to support a food relief organization. What's the environmental connection here that I didn't see initially, at least?
Well, the environmental connection is when there is food available, there is embedded energy and water in that food. And there is water to grow the food, there's energy to transport the food, and by redirecting that food rather than throwing it away, you're redirecting that food to people in need, you're redirecting energy and water, and also you're keeping it out of the waste stream as well into landfills, creating methane gas.
Exactly that. Okay. So, and let's get to some of the specifics and some of the details. The businesses, who are the businesses in Arlington that welcome you into their business at the end of the day to collect food, and who are the organizations that you and the volunteers of the project deliver it to?
We have Bagelville and Trader Joe's every morning, 7 days a week, and we have Whole Foods 5 mornings. So we generally pick up Panera in the evening, and because that's their end of day donation, and then we pick up the others the following morning, and then we redistribute it to various places depending on the day, a low-income housing, Arlington Boys and Girls Club, Thompson School, 3 different food pantries depending on the day of the month and the time of the week. So it goes to a lot of different places.
Now, certainly there's a significant amount of the food that is would be considered, I guess, empty calories. It would be pastries and that sort of food that's not necessarily going to be a staple for people in a low-income housing. I'm going to start that again.
Complex.
Certainly there is a fair amount of the food that would be considered empty calorie and food that would not necessarily be considered staple food for people. You had, I think, what I consider just a brilliant idea of the use of those sorts of foods. Tell us how you use pastries and so forth.
Well, we welcome organizations and schools to tell us that they've got an event coming up, whether it's a teacher appreciation, a walk for a cause, a meeting, clean the pond, whatever it might be. and tell us how many and when it is, and we have a schedule of those, and then we save pastries and freeze them for those events, and that saves them the expense of buying it. Exactly. And it saves the calories, you know, from other places that may not need it as much as the healthier breads and foods that we can bring them.
Right.
And if it's a large event, what we do is we ask the individuals to come and pick up a couple of times before then, because we have worked with events for serving 400 people. Mm-hmm. Wow. So that's one of the things that we do. And we got connected with quite a few of the organizations. The Chamber of Commerce in Arlington had an event with presenting various nonprofits who were members to the community, and that's one of the ways we connected with a lot of the Arlington-based nonprofits.
So certainly they can, and if there are EDs or executive directors or people associated with nonprofits who are watching, certainly, and they have an event coming up, they could get in touch with you.
Absolutely, and they don't have to be Arlington-based. We work with the Asian American Civic Association in Boston. Okay. They just have to be willing to come to us to pick up the food.
All right. I asked you earlier if you were both parents, and the reason was this: being involved with an organization like this over going into 3 years. Where it's a daily task to make sure that food is picked up and that food is distributed and connecting and networking with groups. My sense is it's sort of like having an eternal baby that you need to care for. No? Now your organization, you have 45 or so volunteers, certainly who do much of the heavy lifting, but you are the people who drive the organization, as it were. Is that an apt analogy? Are you two eternal moms here with the?
Yeah,
that's a great analogy.
I had never thought of it, but yes, outstanding.
Okay.
When we go on vacation, you know, we have to plug all the holes because even with 45 volunteers, we do a half to 2/3 sometimes, depends on the week. And then, you know, other people take vacations, so you're constantly filling those slots.
Sure. Well, and then that's a natural place for us to talk about volunteers. As I said, 45 or so volunteers who are helping at least once a month, I think is what I heard.
Correct.
Would you like more volunteers?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. And who can be a volunteer, and sort of what are the expectations for volunteers to the project?
Almost anyone can be a volunteer. It's helpful if they have their own vehicle. But it doesn't. It's not a make it or break it sort of thing. Generally, the volunteers either they pick up bread from Panera at night, or they do a Trader Joe's or Whole Foods pickup, or we do have a few volunteers who meet us at the senior center at mid-morning to help us distribute the Whole Foods donations. Okay. And some of them do not have cars. They just meet us there at the senior center.
Because there's various places inside to take it, whether it's for the seniors upstairs or Monogamy Matter or you know, whatever other group in there, or even the front table. You know, we keep the front table has a big bread basket that we keep filled every day. So anybody coming into that building can take bread if they need it. Okay.
Young people? Can young people get involved?
We have several parent-teen teams where they work together. We don't have the capacity. Let's say if it was, you know, 2 young teens to come help us, we don't have that capacity. But if they were coming maybe for a project or with a parent, then there's certainly something that they can do.
Yeah, we also don't have literally room in the car for another person to ride with us generally when we're loaded, especially after a Trader Joe's in the morning. But it is a great thing for kids to get involved with a parent, whatever their age, because there are not very many volunteer opportunities for children. Most places you need to be 18. So this gives an opportunity for them to do it together and learn about volunteering and a team effort, and you know, they can help to carry things and you know, organize. It works well as a team.
Good. And likewise, for businesses that might be listening in today, who maybe have unused food at the end of the day, should they get in touch with you? And
absolutely.
Yeah, you could use that as well. and therefore you would need more volunteers. So
Right.
Yes.
Right. It's a constant cycle.
I see
Right.
that
We
works.
would always love the ask, yes.
Okay. You make the argument that the food recovery project not only lessens greenhouse gas emissions, it reduces waste, it feeds people, but it also makes connections. Mm-hmm. Now, in a day and age when we frequently will pay attention or consider important only those things that have a dollar value attached to them, those are sort of intangibles that get easily glossed over. Tell us a little bit about the connections that get made through the project.
Well, some of the connections are at some of the low-income housing facilities where we take food to. They, among themselves, organize a mini food pantry, so they're making their own connections. And these are sometimes individuals who wouldn't normally get together, except they do for creating their food pantry. And then you make relationships, too. I was on vacation for 2 weeks, and there's one place that I'm normally the one who delivers to, just as Julie has places she's generally the one who delivers to. And I get there, and one lady gives me a big hug, Deanne, I missed you. And it's just some of those contacts. We also work with another organization called Elliott Community Services, is that it? It's a program for young adults, and it's part of the program is job training skills. So one day a week they bag bread for us, and they pick it up from us, they bag it, they take it back to us. So we've met these other individuals within our community. And
That probably
maybe
our paths wouldn't have crossed otherwise.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you can think of that would be good for Arlingtonians to know about the Food Recovery Project, the work that you do, these issues, maybe more largely, that we haven't talked about yet?
I think just, to continue to request more volunteers, more people to get involved, or people to think about another way to move something. If there is another business nearby who has food that they would love to find a home for, to contact us. And if there are people who say, gee, I could do a once a month thing and do something for my community, fit it into my busy schedule, to contact us, and we can most likely make it work. Between the evening runs and the morning runs, there's always something available.
And they may have a skill set that we could use too that may not be any of this, but we want to create a website, we want to do some other things.
Right.
But also a point that Julie often makes is, and I agree with it, is that when you volunteer for this project, you then become more aware of your own habits, and you become more aware of food waste, and when you feel better about less food being wasted and helping people, but I think it also changes the individual's habits as well.
Something it would be good for people to know who might consider the volunteering for the project, and we had the conversation earlier. It can be relatively discrete amount of time too. It's not necessarily a sponge that would take all available time. Although I'm sure you'd be happy with that too.
Right.
Yeah.
A commitment. All we ask for a commitment is once per month, on a regular basis, and that commitment is generally no more than an hour and a half.
Okay. All right.
And if you want to do it, once a week, we can plug you into the same night every week, same place.
A typical day in the life of the Food Recovery Project, which I gather starts maybe the night before. But so what would, if somebody were to volunteer, what might they see through a day, although they're not going to be there for the full day?
Well, you would start with, at night, as you say, one volunteer could pick up, for instance, at Lexington Panera at 10 o'clock, and bring it either to someone's house or our house, depending on where it's going the next day, deliver it to our cars. And then the following morning, we would stop at Bagelville with what's already in our car, go to Bagelville to pick up there about 6:45, go to Trader Joe's 7 o'clock, be finished loading to our next place, often the food pantry with meat, by 7:30, and then on to whichever other low-income housing we're going to after that, and then to the senior center, which I think they're calling Central School now, and distribute fruit, bread, flowers, whatever it is we might have. Everything depends on what we get that day.
Sure.
So it can be a bountiful day and it can be a pretty slim day. Arlington Boys and Girls Club will get it at least once a week, but that's sort of will carry us through that morning till about 9:30. And then about 10:30 we go to Whole Foods 5 mornings, pick up what they have, and then find more places, depending again on the day, where that will go.
Right.
So it can take a lot of volunteers just to fit their hour or two in to one of those tasks.
There's a saying that seems particularly apt here. If not me, then who? If not now, then when? In the case of the Food Recovery Project, the time is now, and the people are Dion DuPont and Julie Kremer, and 45 volunteers. Might it be me as well? Might it be you? For Deanne and Julie, I'm Peter Bermudez for Arlington Public News.